As a candidate, President Trump ran on the promise to end all wars. And as the conflict between Iran and Israel grows, a significant portion of his base is reminding him of that and calling for the U.S. to avoid getting drawn in. While Trump has been unclear about what he will do next, Senator Mark Warner of Virginia says he should consider the past, posting on X, quote, "If there's one thing we know about the Middle East, it is a lot easier to start a war than end one. Does Trump have the temperament to handle this situation with the skill it requires?" Joining us now, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Katie.
I wonder, can you give us an assessment of where our intelligence is on an Iran nuclear threat?
Katie, I mean, foreign policy by tweet is insane. And that's what this guy is doing. You know, the truth is, the one thing that Tulsi Gabbard, who I think is way over her skis in terms of competence on this, she did say that Iran had taken no action towards moving towards a bomb. And we got reconfirmed as early as Monday of this week that the intelligence hasn't changed. So then you've got the president basically dismissing all of the intelligence. I have no foggy idea what American policy is right now towards this circumstance. I'm the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee. If I don't have the foggiest idea, what do the American people know? And for that matter, what do our few friends remaining around the world know? Last week he was saying Israel can do this on our own without our help. Now, we have been helping them defensively, but now making these threats on tweet. What does unconditional surrender mean? Who is Iran supposed to surrender to? And as I said a little more respectfully, you start a war in the Middle East, it's easy to start. They are hard to end. And I thought the American public, one of the reasons I hired this guy was not to create endless wars in the Middle East. And with a lack of a policy, without any brief to Congress, for him to potentially take this action. And let me just make one last quick comment here. There is no guarantee that a single run of an American airplane dropping bunker busters are going to permanently set back Iran's nuclear program. So what do we do then?
It's a good question. You're a member of the Gang of Eight. You get the most sensitive intelligence we have. You have access to it. Would you normally be looped in on a decision to use a bunker-busting bomb, say, on a nuclear program, or a decision to attack or help aid in an attack on a foreign country?
Absolutely. Even under Trump 1, there was regular contact. But now, and we ignore our intelligence community at our own risk. Remember when intelligence was corrupted and that got us into Iraq? If this president is just going to ignore the intelligence community, why do they even do their job? And the fact that there's not been any Gang 8 brief, matter of fact, Director Gabbard canceled a brief with the Intelligence Committee this afternoon. She said she had to go to the White House. I will grant her that. But if I have no idea what our policy is or what our goal is, then what does the rest of the world and the American people have to turn to? This is not the way our system is supposed to work. What is the timeliness of requiring any action in the next X number of hours? No one has made that case. So I think we are treading on not only really challenging times, but this is a level of irresponsibility out of this administration that, frankly, I thought I couldn't be surprised anymore. But if the president takes this kind of action without any communication to the American people, or the world for that matter, why? And what next after bombing Run 1? And what happens if 40,000 American soldiers and personnel in the Middle East suddenly get attacked? What is next? He does not have, I don't think, even amongst my Republican friends, that there is not much confidence that he's got a plan here.
Well, listen, you also have the authority in Congress to try to pull him back, to pass a war powers resolution. And there's been talk about that. And there's at least one Republican in the House who's co-sponsoring a bill with a Democrat. But I haven't heard about any Republican senators. You tell me.
So far, there's not. My friend and dear friend Tim Kaine has got a War Powers Act bill that'll be up next week. We're still trying to work to get the language right. I sure as hell hope that people of goodwill of both parties would stand up and reassert Congress's authority. Remember, War Powers Act was put in place since presidents didn't come to Congress for declarations of war. But with this slowly playing out real time with no plan, it is irresponsibility on steroids. And, you know, this at the same time, we've got this absolutely awful, god-awful, dreadful bill that will, you know, frankly, take us back to pre-Obamacare days in terms of removing health care coverage from millions, 16, 17 million Americans. What a wild double whammy that our country's getting hit with.
Have you picked up the phone and tried to call Marco Rubio, who's now doing the dual role of a national security advisor and Secretary of State, former colleague? Have you had any contact with him on this?
I have not had recent contact. I will be trying to reach out to him. I was expecting to have the Director of National Intelligence come in today and brief. You know, but, and I will say this, I'm not sure from at least my private conversations with Republicans that they're getting much more additional information. When you zig and zag this way, when people's lives are at stake, when a regional conflict that could actually spread, remember, Iran's biggest ally is Russia. You are playing with fire. And again, I go back to where I started. I don't have the foggiest idea what this administration's plan is for Iran or how you bring this conflict to an end.